What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to review what once was the top tier graphics card 8 years ago, the legendary GTX 780 Ti, and its performance in mid-2021. But before that, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe down below, and thank you for watching. Now, before I proceed with this video, I have just a small favor to ask. Please go ahead and hit the like button down below. It really helps to grow the channel and I really appreciate it. Also, if you're new here, do consider subscribing as I have many videos to view. So let's begin. At this point, this GTX 780 Ti is now almost 8 years old, as it came out back in November of 2013. And at that time, this was the most powerful GPU you could buy, and it was quite a beast. Even today, in my opinion, this card still performs pretty well, at least in 1080p gaming, and that's where we're going to find out how well this thing holds up in mid-2021. So this card features as following: 2880 CUDA cores, 3GB, 384-bit GDDR5 interface, PCI Express 3.0, and core clock 1006 MHz, boost clock 1072 MHz, effective memory clock 7000 MHz, and it does feature DirectX 12, although in my opinion is not the best utilization, as this is a pretty old card now. It does have one HDMI port, one display port, one DVI, and one DVD port. Also, this thing is quite power hungry, and it does require a 600 watt and or higher power supply, and you need a 6-pin and an 8-pin connection to this bad boy. So one bad thing about this older card, it is quite power hungry, and if you know, considering getting this at a good price, you are going to need a pretty beefy power supply. And in my rig that I'm going to use, which I usually do use always, my most powerful rig, is going to have a pretty beefy power supply. That's how you really get the best results out of these older cards, especially a beast like this. Now, the bad news, and I'm sure a lot of you heard that NVIDIA is now going to discontinue the support on the 600 and 700 series graphics cards starting beginning of fall, I think October or so. So we only really got a couple more months left of support for the 600 and 700 series cards, and that's a shame because they are still quite capable nowadays. Definitely in 1080p gaming, and some of the games could handle 1440p also. So yeah, that's only the bad news, but otherwise, in my opinion, this card still kicks butt, and it is on par with the GTX 970 in my opinion, and I think a lot of the results in the past do show that, except it is a lot more power hungry, this card. So next we're gonna review the rig that I'm gonna use for this test, and then we're gonna jump into some benchmarks, so stay tuned for that. And here is the most powerful rig that I currently have. This is what I use to test out all my GPUs, new or old, to get the best results. Now at this point, this thing is getting kind of old, but it does feature the Z390 platform that has the i9-9900K clocked at 5 gigs on all cores. Still a pretty nice setup. You'll definitely get good testing results out of this rig with any GPU out there. Also has 16 gigs of DDR4 RAM running at 3200 megahertz CL16s, along with a 1200 watt platinum rated fully modular power supply, which is more than enough to handle any graphics card out there, and even some SLI options, which I'm gonna have many videos coming up testing out some older cards running an SLI to see what I could do, what kind of performance I could squeeze out. I really like to do a lot of videos on the older stuff. I am fascinated how the old graphics cards still perform quite well today in a lot of the titles. And I am very disappointed that NVIDIA is ending the support for the 600 and 700 series cards, especially for you out there, people who just spend money on some of these older graphics cards, and they are quite expensive. Just looking at some prices on eBay, a lower end 660 Ti or so is going for around $100, and if you spend that kind of money and just to find out that a few months later it's no longer supported, that's really a bummer. They do have some potential still, these cards, especially in 1080p gaming, but yeah, that's pretty much gonna be the end in a couple of months. So yeah, it is what it is, and that was gonna happen eventually, just like they did with the 500 series cards. So without further ado, let's get to those gaming test benchmarks, so stay tuned. Alright, so the first game I'm going to start off with is Horizon Zero Dawn. Now I'm going to keep all these games on 1080p resolution, so we're not going to go any higher than that. This is a pretty old card, about 8 years old, so let's see how well it performs with a game like this. This is one of the newer titles, so let's take a look at the settings. As you can see, we're in 1080p full screen, VSync off, and I'm sticking with the medium preset. That gives me around average of 50 FPS. I could go on ultra, but it drops down to, you know, in your 30s or so. So I'm gonna stick with this, where the graphics is still pretty good and the game looks good, and so is the FPS are pretty reasonable still. Now this is a perfect example how the newer games are a bit more graphic intensive and they require newer hardware. Because in theory, this the GTX 780 Ti is a pretty powerful card still, and like I mentioned, it's on par with the GTX 970, but 970 would perform better in this game as it is a bit more modern.
Good.
Now, unfortunately, I wasn't able to overclock this card. This maybe not the best example of a 780 Ti. It's getting kind of old. This is an EVGA one, and I never had any luck with overclocking this card. Even a little bit, it just crashes. So, due to its age, it's not probably the best one out there. And in this particular game, it seems like only in this game, it looks like some artifacts are coming up and some couple little glitches here and there. But nevertheless, it should be enough to get you an idea how the game runs.
Good. You'll never run out of arrows if you know how to craft what you need. Let's put those arrows to use. Follow. Here, stay low in the grass and be quiet. It's time to make your first kill.
So as you can see, the game plays pretty smooth, no issues, and you could go to higher settings, but the FPS will be a lower, definitely.
Its hide is thick, but there are spots.
The canister on its back. Is that a weakness?
Yes. How did you guess that?
The device. It showed.
That plaything? Good strike!
Alright, well that concludes the test for this game. On to the next one. Now, in Cyberpunk 2077, you're gonna get even less FPS, and I'm gonna go ahead and stick with medium preset on 1080p. As you could see, we are on medium settings here, full scale resolution, and 1080p. And we are in about low to mid 30s, depends on the area. And the game is smooth and quite playable, but you could see that some of these latest games, the developers really don't want you to use the older hardware, and that's why you're gonna get cards across the board really performing in similar FPS. Like, I'm just gonna give you an example, like GTX 1050 Ti, this card here 780 Ti, which definitely should be a lot more powerful, or even like a GTX 960, cards like that. They're all going to be around this FPS on medium settings, give or take 1 or 2 FPS. So like I said, the developers really wanting you to get the latest and the greatest, and spend a lot of money just to play this game at 60 FPS on good settings. But nevertheless, this game is smooth and quite playable at medium. You take it down to low and you'll get it to 40s, low 40s. Really depends on, you know, what you're looking for, but all around I think the medium setting is the right setting for this game and this graphics card. And again, if you're new to my channel, I do appreciate it if you hit the like button down below and share this video, help me grow my channel. It seems like YouTube is hiding all my videos. I am not in trouble or anything with them. I have done nothing wrong, no warnings, but lately when I look and try to search my video, you can't even find it, even by the heading. So it's a bit annoying. So if you guys share this video, hit the like button, then chances are this will become more visible. So you kind of get an idea over here in the busy area what we got running, like low 30s. Pretty smooth. Game looks great.
What the fuck was that?
Oh. That's not nice. And also, if you're wondering why am I using the camera to record this, especially for older card, I really don't want to lose any FPS recording using any other recording software, like Shadow Play would probably be one of the better ones to go hand in hand with NVIDIA. I really want to show you the maximum possible performance, and that's why I do it like that. I could easily, you know, use a software to record this, but you're not gonna get the most accurate results, and that's what I'm all about. So that is it for this game, and then I'm gonna probably jump into an older title and show you how well this card performs in an older title. So stay tuned. Now with Battlefield 5, you could definitely achieve 60 FPS on ultra settings, and that's why I love these older games. The graphics are amazing, and they're a bit more, quite a bit more friendly to the graphics cards. I wish all the games were as friendly as Battlefield 5 or Grand Theft Auto 5. Man, those two games, even Witcher 3, you could say they're really good. They're really well optimized for any kind of graphics card. So let's take a look at what we have here. We're on 1080p, full screen, VSync off, motion blur off, and as you could see, on ultra settings. Very nice. and you take this down to like high or low settings, and you're gonna be at 100 FPS easily.
Nach rechts. Wir müssen sie flankieren.
Jawohl, Kommandant. Die scheinen sich schnell zu nähern, Kommandant.
Sie beide hatten die Augen offen, damit uns das nicht auch passiert.
Wir sind bereit.
Das sind unsere Leute. Wir müssen ihnen helfen. Fenster im Auge behalten.
Ooh, already.
6 Uhr.
Feuer erwidern.
Ich hab gleich.
Infanterie auf 12 Uhr. MG-Feuer eröffnet.
Very nice.
Da steht eine verdammte Kanone.
Hier durchbrechen.
Alright, so that's it for Battlefield 5. Let's see what's next on the list. Now in Hitman 3, on high settings, 1080p, it appears to perform pretty decent. So let's take a look what we got here. We got around 50 FPS average, hitting 60 in some areas. So I am impressed how it handles this game. It handles it better than Cyberpunk and better than Horizon Zero Dawn. So this one is a little bit better optimized. And I actually had this originally on Ultra, and I was in low 50s. So this game could be played on Ultra settings, but I wanted to switch it down to high settings. I think this is the perfect setting for this game. You're still going to get good visuals. And as you could see, this game is not using the CPU as much. Look how low it dropped down. That's very strange. But the graphics card is being utilized quite a bit, 98%, and the temperature went up. So definitely this game is a bit better optimized, especially for a newer title.
Hey, you up there? You find it?
Yeah, the detail looks good on this game. Definitely one of the better looking games out there.
Ah, my knee is so sore.
So as you can see, the card is still quite usable. Is it practical? Not really. It does require a pretty beefy power supply. And you could definitely achieve this kind of performance with like a, I don't know, a 1060, 970, which is a lot more efficient. Alright, so now let's wrap it up with one last game. Let's take a look what we have. Alright, so we're finally here at the very end. Last game testing out here is Shadow of the Tomb Raider. It's a still great game for test benchmarks. It's not the easiest, but it's definitely not the hardest game to run. So I was actually able to pull this game off on ultra settings to have decent FPS. So let's take a look at the settings first of all. Okay, 1080p full screen. VSync off. As you could see, we got the 780 Ti anti-aliasing on SMAA, and here it is. You see we're on ultra settings, motion blur off, pretty much maxed out. And these are the kind of FPS we're getting here. Not bad at all. Around 60 FPS, that's really good. Now also, upcoming, I will be testing out more individual games with the 780 Ti, taking a little bit further into depth, doing more settings on each individual game. As you know, I mentioned before, soon NVIDIA is not going to be supporting the drivers for the 600 and 700 series anymore, so I just kind of want to build an archive, of what this card could do for some references in the future. Well, that's it, everybody. That wraps it up. Thank you for watching the video, and again, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.